We're looking for experienced personnel to take on a role training armies in Africa. Interested?
Yes, I am.
Well, good to have you on board.
Thank you, sir.
Morse.
Hallowed halls.
I'm at Lonsdale College. Get Dr. Hobson over here right away. We've got another violent death on our hands.
Have hideous hidden depths.
I actually want the job, and I'm going to get it.
As Oxford Dons close ranks, has Morse finally met his match?
I presently have power to change your life.
A gripping new chapter for Inspector Morse, Wednesday at 8 on Central.
West Ham v Walsall and Chelsea v Southampton in a Central Sports Special tomorrow night at 10:45.
Well, Hercules certainly seems to have made an impression on him.
BT's friends and family still have a few children's tickets for Walt Disney's Hercules to give away. Call 0800 05 55 55 to join or to find out how to get yours.
Go ahead. Baked potato chips, fruity things, biscuits, fruit, chocolate and cheesecakes up to 97% fat-free. So go ahead with McVitie's.
If you watch too much television, your eyes will go square.
Don't feed your kids that rubbish. Feed them new Campbell's meatballs. Now made with pure pork and no artificial colourings or preservatives. New Campbell's meatballs. Something good for kids to swallow.
Apparently, Kotex have just cut a hole in their new ultra-thin. Why?
Unbelievably, it's the hole in the new Kotex Ultra that makes it work so well. Liquid goes straight down to the bottom layer, and because almost nothing can come back up again, you'll feel really dry and comfortable. The new Kotex Ultra Thin. Protection never felt like this.
If you buy any of Safeway's price-protected products cheaper locally, they'll give you another one free.
Free, eh? Wonder what it is.
I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Safeway. Lightening the load.
You're feeling relaxed, yet focused. Good. Now taste the power of chocolate and caramel. New Galaxy Caramel Swirls. You're drooling with desire. Wipe your chin. You'll find lots of Galaxy Swirls in a lovely gift bag, and you'll send them all to me. You like to give prezzies. Galaxy Caramel Swirls. Give in. When you awake, you'll need to run an errand.
Research shows that 10 out of 10 sheep don't watch Dispatches. Thursdays at 9 on 4.
You're watching Central. Now it's time for the main evening news.
ITN News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
Flying home tonight, frightened tourists leave Egypt. Royal planes in safety scare. Kate's neighbors appeal, help catch her killer. And by royal command, the paintings picked by a prince. Good evening. Holidaymakers were getting out of Egypt in their thousands today after yesterday's bloodbath at Luxor. Egypt's biggest Islamic fundamentalist group today admitted responsibility for the massacre in which 6 Britons died. 3 of them were from different generations of a single family. President Mubarak accepted his interior minister's resignation today and promised effective security for tourists in future. Our Middle East correspondent Julian Mannion was at the temple of Hatshepsut today when the president flew down from Cairo. He sent this report by satellite video phone link.
Today, the 3,500-year-old temple was under guard. A cordon of armed soldiers was posted in the desert around it. Others secured the main building, which is now scarred and stained with the bullets and blood of yesterday's killings. The massacre, which cost the lives of at least 61 tourists, including 6 Britons. In spite of the murders, some tourists are still coming here, but the heightened security was not for their benefit. It was because the president of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, was coming to address the international press at the scene where Islamic fundamentalists set out to try to destroy the credibility of his government. Did the people who died make a mistake coming here?
No, it's not a mistake for sure. Otherwise, whoever could die in any other country, we could say that he made a mistake. Something could happen anywhere in the world. But the point is that we are going to take much more measures to secure every single person here.
What would you say to British tourists who are on either here or on their way here?
I tell them security is in good shape, although that's what happened. We are very sorry for that. And sometimes I feel going to London.
The president's laughter concealed anger. Before driving away, Mubarak berated his interior minister, who has since resigned. It was clearly yet another security failure which allowed the terrorists to get to the temple in army uniforms with automatic rifles. Despite President Mubarak's reassurances, a mass exodus of tourists has now begun. With the Foreign Office advising Britons to avoid the Luxor area, holiday companies have laid on special flights to bring their customers home early, a decision some of them thoroughly agree with.
We came here to relax as opposed to get shot at, I think.
Other tourists we spoke to didn't want to leave, but the scale of this atrocity is such that the holiday companies felt that they simply had to respond. Tonight it seems that 6 fanatics with guns have landed a body blow on Egypt's government and economy. President Mubarak came here today to show that his government will not be shaken by the Islamic fundamentalists. He continues to insist that Egypt is a safe country for tourists to visit, but the relatives of the people who died yesterday may have some difficulty putting real faith in the president's words. Julian Mannion, News at 10 at the Temple of Hatshepsut, Luxor.
Even before the tour flights began arriving back from Egypt, the impact of the massacre had struck home when the Britons killed were named today. 3 of them were from one Yorkshire family: Shauna Turner, age 5, her mother Karina, and her grandmother Joan Turner. 2 more were a retired couple from Kent. This report is by our Foreign Affairs editor, Robert Moore.
Tonight at Gatwick Airport, hundreds of tourists continue to arrive back from Egypt. Many tour companies are repatriating all of their holidaymakers from the country amid the security crisis. Others, like British Airways Holidays, are cancelling Egypt as a tourist destination until further notice.
It's horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous. That's all I can say to you. I was just absolutely shocked. All the time I've been going to Luxor, nothing like this has happened.
The West Yorkshire village of Ripondon is coming to terms with the tragedy. From this house, 3 generations of one family gunned down in the massacre. 5-year-old Shauna Turner was shot dead by the Egyptian militants, so too her mother Karina. And Shauna's grandmother Joan Turner also died, all killed just 3 days into the holiday. At her school nearby, a special assembly was held by teachers to break the news to all the other children.
A lovely little girl, very friendly, very popular with all the other children. Delightful child. It's such a waste of a life.
Paul Wigham from South London lost both his parents in the massacre. 2 more victims of senseless terror as they were enjoying the wonders of ancient Egypt.
It was a trip of a lifetime. My father had always wanted to go to Israel and Egypt. They did Israel last year, which coincided with the assassination there. And this year they wanted to go to Egypt, but I felt very uneasy about the trip. I felt that it was too risky after the turmoil.
Across Europe, many of those returning from Luxor who had escaped the massacre wept with relief. Nowhere more than at Zurich airport, for over 30 Swiss nationals died in the atrocity. Still more ominous for Egypt's crucial tourist industry is that Islamic militants are warning of fresh attacks. The Foreign Office is now strongly advising British travellers to avoid Luxor until further notice and be extra vigilant in all parts of Egypt. Robert Moore, News at 10 at the Foreign Office.
Concerns about safety of the aircraft of the Queen's flight came to light today. It was learned that a BAE 146 of the Royal Squadron was forced to make an emergency landing with only one of its 4 engines working. Faulty maintenance was blamed. The RAF said it was taking the incident extremely seriously. Lauren Taylor reports.
It was on a plane like this one used by the royal family that the incident happened on the 6th of November. The BAE 146 was 15 minutes into a flight from RAF Northolt to Norwich. Oil warning lights for one of the 4 engines began to flash. The crew decided to return to base. Then 2 further engines failed, forcing the crew to divert to Stansted for an emergency landing using just 1 engine. The 146 plane is only used by members of the royal family and senior figures such as cabinet ministers. In this case, there were no passengers aboard. It was a training flight. The royal family uses 3 of this type of plane. The Ministry of Defence confirmed tonight that the Duke of York used this particular aircraft just a few days before the incident. Maintenance had been carried out by private contractors. The RAF says it has changed maintenance procedures since the incident and that both the contractors and the RAF are taking this extremely seriously. We don't know yet when the outcome of the inquiry will be known. It was a 146 that Prince Charles crash-landed in Isla. That time it was pilot error rather than mechanical failure that caused the emergency. Despite the recent incident, experts say the 146 remains one of the safest planes in the world. Lauren Taylor, News at 10.
President Bill Clinton ordered more warplanes to the Gulf today, but he gave encouragement to the view that the crisis could be ended peacefully now. His national security advisor said the United States would open to the changes in the oil sanctions regime and the makeup of the arms inspection team. ITN's Colin Baker reports now from Washington.
The 3-week-old standoff may be straining the patience of the White House, but the diplomatic door has not yet been firmly shut on Iraq. After meetings with his heads of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and his Defense Secretary William Cohen, President Clinton ordered more aircraft to the Gulf to reinforce the 270 warplanes already based there.
We have the U-2s flying, we have a very active no-fly zone, and we have a very uncertain situation. And for all of those reasons, based upon the recommendation of Secretary Cohen and the Joint Chiefs, some further aircraft deployments were deemed necessary by the President.
But the US has hopes that Russia may be able to find a breakthrough, giving President Yeltsin a much-needed international boost. He met with Iraq's Deputy Prime Minister, Tariq Aziz. Later, Moscow officials suggested a new plan could be put to American, British and French foreign ministers at a meeting in Geneva later this week. As service wives say goodbye, the US military build-up in the Gulf indicates the determination of Washington to make Saddam conform to UN resolutions before making concessions over sanctions and Iraqi sales of oil for food, though ultimately that could well form part of any deal. While British and American officials insist there is still time for a diplomatic breakthrough, the clock is no doubt running down. Both countries accept that within a month, Saddam Hussein will more than likely have recommenced chemical weapon production. Colin Baker, News at 10, Washington.
Here, hospital waiting lists have risen to an all-time high, according to figures from the Department of Health today. More than 1.2 million people in England are now waiting for treatment, 50,000 more than when Labour came to power. Hundreds have been waiting for more than 18 months. Here's our health correspondent, Penny Marshall.
Today's figures will come as an embarrassment for the government, which put NHS reform at the heart of its manifesto. making its promise to cut 100,000 from the NHS waiting list a key manifesto pledge. 6 months later, and waiting lists have risen to an all-time high, increasing 50,000 since Labour came to office.
Well, the manifesto promise certainly stands. Like all our other promises, we will keep them. But I think most people in this country realise that with a huge organisation like the health service, with such huge numbers of patients involved, it does take time to make the changes that are necessary.
The total number of people on waiting lists in England rose to more than 1.2 million at the end of September. 57,700 of them had been waiting more than a year. 818 had been waiting for longer than 18 months, the maximum time supposed to be guaranteed by the patient's charter. Violet Newitt has been waiting nearly a year for her cataract operation to restore her eyesight. She's in despair.
Not only am I frustrated, but I am annoyed that there is such a long waiting list for a bed just for a night.
Today, the government set up regional action teams to help tackle the problem, emphasising innovative management techniques to reduce waiting times rather than additional resources. Opposition MPs have criticised today's action plan as cosmetic and accused the government of failing to keep its promises. The government has set itself a March target to eradicate waits of longer than 18 months, but other targets are more vague. At the moment, this government is blaming the last for an inherited problem, but as time passes, that'll become more difficult. Penny Marshall, News at 10 at the Department of Health.
Coming up, we have more of the day's news next. The neighbour's dog and its role in the hunt for Kate Bushell's killer. A debut showing tonight by a royal artist, and no, it's not Prince Charles. Changes at Spurs, but has anyone told Jerry Francis? And on patrol with the American Navy in the Gulf.
Who would I most like to have a one-to-one with? It's got to be Elvis Presley! 56 would be a cool year. He'd be 21. Apparently, he really felt lonely at times, even before he was idolised by millions. I'd cheer him up. It would be great to go for a drive with him, pop round his mum's for a cup of tea. I'd ask him who was his best friend. I'd have been a good friend to him, I think. Maybe I'd ask him to sing for me, my own private Elvis Presley concert.
Who would you most like to have a one-to-one with? Our mobile phone service gets people talking.
Coffee, not yet.
Well, what is
You could get nicked for... What now?
Bank job's on.
Oh, blimey. What the X this?
Listen, Almira, lovely little mover.
Shut it. Market!
Stop shouting.
I can't!
Handles like a dream, Gov.
Well, wake up and shut up. That's an order. Hello, Squealer.
What, Gov?
I said apple white. This is Parisian moonlight white.
I think we better get back to the yard, Gov, and get some more. Fuel action, Almira.
Shut up.
150,000? That's millions.
Andrex are giving away thousands of toys.
150,000?
Simply reveal a winning voucher.
Yes! I've won! I've won!
And be a winner with special packs of Andrex toilet tissue.
Stay low, Walker. Remember your training. Ooh.
Hang on a sec. We're making a delivery.
A delivery? I can see the headlines now. Top detective uncovers massive...
Muffins.
What?
And jammy dodgers. Wagon wheels. Fresh donuts.
Let me have a look.
I'm back in a minute.
You know what your problem is, Walker? Lack of professionalism, no willpower, and you're a complete...
Walker, get me a raspberry flapjack, and that's an order.
Fine. All I'm saying is,
Look, all I'm saying is, if you want a big Christmas, then you do it.
I will.
The tree, the cooking, the shopping.
Okay.
Fine.
For less hassle this Christmas, stock up on a few extras each visit to Summerfield. Buy any of our hundreds of price check offers cheaper at a major supermarket and we'll give you a pack free.
How's it going?
Great.
You'll never last.
For information about two men, one of whom was seen running from the area in a sweatshirt apparently stained red. The dog Kate was walking when she was killed was also put on show. Our West of England correspondent Tim Rogers reports.
Tonight, police reinforcements are patrolling the streets of Exeter to reassure local people that everything is being done to catch Kate Bushell's killer.
Every possible officer is dedicated to the task. We're using all the specialist skills available to us and following many different leads and many different lines of inquiry.
14-year-old Kate Bushell was murdered on Saturday evening as she walked a neighbour's dog. Earlier today, they brought Gemma, the Jack Russell, to a news conference where they spoke warmly of the girl who was always keen to help.
She was very intelligent. She was very bright.
Very responsible.
Yeah, extremely responsible, which
Yeah,
is why we trusted her.
She was much older in years than her age. Like she was very confident in what she did. If she hadn't have been, we wouldn't have let her babysit or take the dog out.
And they talked about how Kate's parents were coping with their loss.
They're coping well.
They're coping well, yeah.
I don't think the shock has set in yet. All of the neighbours in the local community are shielding a lot off of them.
As the search for the murder weapon goes on, police say they're anxious to find a man seen running from the area with bloodstains on his T-shirt. Gemma will appear later this week for a reconstruction of Kate's last walk. Tomorrow, the search will go on. The search for Kate Bushell's killer. Tim Rogers, News at 10, Exeter.
The Treasury Minister Helen Liddell today threatened to get even tougher with firms which sold people inappropriate pensions and should have been slow to make reparations. She said powers would be brought into play which would allow individual directors or salesmen to be fined, banned for their failings. John Draper has our report.
Helen Liddell's been the scourge of the pensions industry ever since she was made a Treasury Minister. She's hammered big city firms who made profits by persuading people to cash in perfectly sound occupational schemes for personal pensions now worth less than what they had. Today in the Commons, she said thousands of innocent people have been fleeced and those responsible could now end up in court.
Individual directors, managers or salespeople found to be at fault will face the prospect of fines, public reprimands or restrictions upon the type of work in which they may be involved.
Some city firms could be forced to advertise their misconduct, others banned from selling pensions. The industry, though, says such sanctions shouldn't be necessary.
Over 10,000 cases are being completed each month. The target that has been set for the end of the year will be met. That is what concerns the industry. And as long as that happens, further sanctions are not on the agenda. And that really is what we want to see. We want to see the review completed, so there's no need to talk about sanctions.
While some insurance companies have apologised for pensions mis-selling, others say ministers have been laggardly. The new measures are intended to galvanise them into compensating those affected. John Draper, News at 10, Westminster.
The Conservative MP Anne Widdecombe resigned from the Common Standards and Privileges Committee today over its handling of the Neil Hamilton Cash for Questions affair. She branded the committee a shambles and said it hadn't given her former colleague, Mr. Hamilton, a fair hearing. Banking unions have called for a strike at Barclays Bank on Christmas Eve as part of their 6-month pay dispute. Barclays managers have condemned the move, saying they have no intention of reopening negotiations. And school performance tables were published today, the first under a Labour government. This year, they not only show how well schools have done in their GCSE results, but also how much they've improved over the past 4 years. But teaching unions say the tables still unfairly favour independent and grant-maintained schools. Back now to the confrontation with Iraq over the weapons inspectors. It's beginning to look as if diplomacy and negotiation will provide a solution. But the Americans are also putting together a big military force. Their 5th Fleet is in the Gulf and within striking distance of Iraq. Our defense correspondent Kevin Dunn has spent the last 3 days on the guided missile cruiser USS Lake Champlain. His special report is on the punch it packs and on the mood he found among the crew.
For the USS Lake Champlain, the start of another day on sentry duty in the Northern Gulf. The 10,000-ton battle cruiser is the shield of the American 5th Fleet and potentially the launch pad for a strike on Iraq, should Saddam Hussein's defiance of the United Nations provoke a military response.
Obviously, tensions are still very high. We're still trying to resolve it. There's been emergency sessions of UN Security Council.
The 370 men aboard the Lake Champlain have yet to fire their guns in anger. But they are being kept in battle readiness in case crisis turns to conflict. The ship's task is twofold: to protect the aircraft carrier Nimitz from attack using the most sophisticated radar in the world, and if called upon, to launch missiles into Iraq. The ship's real capability is concealed beneath these grey hatches, because below my feet is an arsenal of guided missiles. Among them, Tomahawk cruise missiles primed and ready for launch. There are 61 of them here, 61 at the front of the ship, and there are 6 more vessels in this battle group alone, armed with equally awesome firepower. We were given a rare glimpse of an empty silo, but the ship's second-in-command described what a cruise missile launch looks like.
It's a very awesome sight. Whoosh and it's gone. It's that fast. It's very, very quick. It's not you blink and you miss it. It's that fast.
The Tomahawk missile was designed to penetrate Soviet radar defenses, but was used to deadly effect in the Gulf War. The Lake Champlain's captain explained how its range and precision had transformed his ship's role.
Our job is to provide long-range strike missiles. The thing that we bring to the table is the fact that we can reach out and strike without putting the pilots at risk. Now, we would need a little bit more punch, and that's what the air wing brings, but we also bring the flexibility and the timing to allow the Tomahawks to go over the beach.
Regular firefighting exercises are one way of keeping the crew active and battle-ready. They have been at sea since September, and for many on board, this is their first deployment to the Gulf. It is the first time, too, that many have experienced the real possibility of action.
Of course, it's something you think about, and I think there might be a little point of anxiousness on knowing what's going to happen. I mean, no one ever really wants bad things to happen when you come over to the Gulf or anything, but if it does happen, then we have to be ready.
We have a pretty young crew. A lot of guys haven't been over here before, but like I say, we've trained for this, so I'm pretty much, you know, the atmosphere is very professional.
If it comes to military action, and no one can be sure it won't, this ship will be among the first to be involved. But even if they leave the Gulf without having to open fire, the American watch on these waters will remain indefinitely. Kevin Dunn, News at 10, aboard the USS Lake Champlain in the Gulf.
Now football, and an announcement from Switzerland today appeared to confirm that Jerry Francis's days as manager of Spurs are numbered. It said Christian Gross of Grasshopper Zurich is taking over as head coach at White Hart Lane from Monday. Here's our sports reporter, Peter Staunton.
It's shaping up to be yet another chaotic episode in Tottenham's troubled history. Manager Jerry Francis appears finally to be on his way out, exactly 3 years after he took over from Ozzy Ardiles. And in his place will be the man who's currently coaching Grasshoppers of Zurich, the team which beat Glasgow Rangers in the Champions League last year. Christian Gross claimed in Switzerland this afternoon he was taking over at Tottenham next Monday. Since then, there hasn't been a word of confirmation or denial from club chairman Alan Sugar. 2 years ago, Francis was promising to stay following the abrupt departure of Jurgen Klinsmann.
I'm going to give Tottenham Hotspur another year. I think I owe that to Alan Sugar.
But it now looks as though his chairman has run out of patience as the club languishes in 16th spot in the league. Francis is now tipped to make the return journey across London to rejoin Queen's Park Rangers. Gross took Grasshoppers to consecutive league titles, but just getting Spurs into the top half of the table will be his first big challenge. Peter Staunton, News at 10.
6 games were played tonight in the 4th round of the Coca-Cola Cup competition. Details of the matches will be shown in some ITV regions later. So, if you don't want to know the results, look away now. In rugby, England's emerging 15 suffered a comprehensive defeat at the hands of the All Blacks in Huddersfield tonight. This was one of New Zealand's early tries, a superb team effort, finished off by that man, who else, Jonah Lomu. The final score was 59-22. And tonight's headlines again. Holidaymakers were getting out of Egypt in their thousands today after yesterday's bloodbath at Luxor. Egypt's biggest Islamic fundamentalist group admitted responsibility for the massacre in which 6 Britons died. 3 came from the same family. And concerns about safety of aircraft of the Queen's flight came to light today. It was learned that a BAE 146 of the Royal Squadron was forced to make an emergency landing with only one of its 4 engines working properly. Faulty maintenance was blamed. The RAF said it was taking the incident extremely seriously. And finally, the Prince of Wales opened an exhibition of contemporary art in London tonight and demonstrated where his own taste lies. He chose many of the exhibits himself, including works by an unknown and untrained artist. Caroline Kerr reports.
The Prince of Wales tonight had an official duty which he admitted was a great treat. He was invited to open an exhibition in which he had been able to select many of the works of art on show. Prince Charles is an avid art collector and has painted himself for the best part of 30 years. Tonight, he was clearly in his element. He was relaxed and jovial as he discussed his selection. Many of the paintings the Prince chose were by complete unknowns, this one by a self-taught artist. He said it had been a joy to discover so much hidden talent in the country.
What I think is so fascinating is the number of people, for instance, in the little group that I selected who either have never been heard of before or, like myself, have never actually been to an art school. And it is remarkable what talent exists sometimes without having been trained.
Among the better-known artists he'd chosen was his cousin, Lady Sarah Armstrong-Jones. This painting of hers is on sale for £550. Caroline Kerr, News at 10, Central London.
And that's the way the news looks tonight. We're back tomorrow. From all of us here at ITN, good night.
Hello and good evening. A lot going on with our weather at the moment. Things are really unsettled and they look like they're going to stay that way for the time being because we're seeing a succession of low pressures moving up from the southwest. Here's today up to the northwest of Scotland. That's got that associated weather front that brought the cloud, the heavy rain and the gale force winds to the eastern side of Britain today. Now, here's the same thing taking place on the satellite picture. There's that weather front that's now moving away into the North Sea. Behind it, though, that second low pressure. So that swirl of cloud there that's moving in to bring more rain in store for tomorrow. So today's rain still lingering on the east coasts tonight, some dry spells in between, but already a lot of showers there along the west coasts. A mild night in the offing, temperatures no lower than 8 or 9, but still very windy, especially for exposed coasts of northeast Scotland. Tomorrow starts then with that rain still on the east coast, drier for central parts and perhaps just a hint of brightness early on, but that rain in the west moving along eastwards through the course of the day. Now behind that, some showery conditions tucking in for Northern Ireland and the West Country, but still fairly mild. Highs of 13 is 55 Fahrenheit, but very windy again, especially for northeast Scotland.
Power gen. Generating electricity whatever the weather.
A new series begins a little later. The spectacular eruption of Mount Helens in America is the subject of Savage Earth after Central News, which is next.
You've got a sweat on for 88. You can feel your heart pounding. 10 seconds can seem like hours.
Orange understand that some people want a phone with no commitment. Just Talk gives you a phone with no monthly bill. Simply top up with talk time whenever you need it. The future's bright. The future's orange.
I was just about to use that mascara, actually.
Won't be a second.
If you haven't paid for something, you shouldn't be using it.
Could you leave my stuff alone, please?
Get a TV licence.
Of course I'm happy Jerry's doing the Christmas shopping. I mean, the other day I got home and he breezes in with all the wine. Hello. It's a bit impressive. Oh.
Argentinian red and white wine is down to $1.99.
He won't keep it up. He's got no discipline.
It's about time you change your Glade plug-ins refill. Change them every 45 days to keep your home Glade fresh.
Hi, Rob. I just thought I'd remind you of what you're missing out on. What you could never resist. What you could have whenever you wanted. You know it's the best you've ever had.
Surrender to the heavenly honeyness, nuttiness, and flakiness of Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes.
Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes. You'll be back.
Welcome to our competition line. Calls are charged at...
I didn't say you could call every 5 minutes, did I? You're just wasting money.
But I could win a prize.
You have a shopping trip.
Softener, washing powder. Oh, don't need softener. I'll give you a money waster.
Clean, soft. This belt's terrific. No knew it cost a bomb.
No separate softener, so it was over £1 less.
No prizes for guessing what you'll be buying from now on.
And now Bold has an even bigger value, 5 kg size.
You win more at Mecca. Phone 0990 66 88 99 for free membership.
Now it's time for the late bulletin from Central News.
Thousands of women called telephone hotline after hospital blunder with smear tests. And a Buddhist tradition in the Black Country. Good evening, the news from Central. More than 1,000 women have called a helpline after it was announced that signs of cancer may not have been detected in cervical smear tests. The results of 18,000 tests are now to be re-examined.
How can I help you?
Around 200 women an hour are calling the helpline. It was set up after a random sample of 500 cervical smear test results were re-examined and put in doubt original all-clear verdicts in 16 cases.
Just because the result is actually changed doesn't necessarily mean people are going to go on and develop cancer in every case. That is not the case. There is further diagnostic tests to find out whether there is a problem or not.
The test results were originally examined at a laboratory at St Cross Hospital in Rugby in Warwickshire. That's now been closed down and the work's being carried out at a laboratory 6 times the size at Walsgrave Hospital in Coventry. Health officials say the small size of the St Cross unit could have been to blame for the discrepancies, as staff there may not have had enough experience to spot possible abnormalities. It'll cost between £30,000 and £40,000 to have all 18,000 smear tests re-examined. Officials accept a number of women who had been told they were in the clear will now get the news that abnormalities have been detected in their tests.
And the number of that helpline is 0800 783 0520. A man who's been in jail for 25 years hopes he'll soon be set free and cleared of murdering a teenage girl. The Court of Appeals heard that Andrew Evans confessed to killing the girl, but lawyers argued his conviction was unsafe.
He's been locked up for a quarter of a century. Today at the Court of Appeal, Andrew Evans began a legal battle to prove Staffordshire police got the wrong man when they arrested him back in 1972. Evans, here being secretly filmed inside prison, confessed to a brutal murder when he was just 17. He was convicted of killing 14-year-old Judith Roberts. Her battered body was found in a field at Wigington near Tamworth after she'd gone out cycling. Evans's lawyers told the Lord Chief Justice that he confessed after dreaming about the dead girl. He said he'd dragged her body across the field where she was found. But the court was told at the time of the confession he was depressed, taking the drug Valium. He had an asthma attack, was anxious, hysterical, and in his mind was in an Alice Through the Looking Glass world. A specialist in memory disorders told the appeal court he would have certified him unfit to be interviewed at the time he told police officers about the murder. The case continues tomorrow.
A woman's been found dead after a fire at a house in Kidderminster. Emergency services were called to the house in Lawn Terrace this afternoon. The cause of the fire is being investigated. And we've pictures just in of students arriving back at Gatwick Airport from Egypt. They were caught up in gunfire at the Luxor Temple massacre. 21 part-time students from the University of Warwick were on a field trip there. Officials from the Italian club Napoli are flying into Birmingham in a bid to sign the Aston Villa striker Sava Milosevic. They're prepared to pay £4 million for the Yugoslav international and will have talks with Aston Villa tomorrow. There was an Eastern flavour to the morning assembly at a Black Country school.
It looks and sounds like a temple in Thailand or Tibet. It's actually Bellevue Primary School, Wordsley, in the Black Country. And instead of morning assembly, the school's 8-year-olds are having a lesson in religious education as the monks of the Midlands' only Buddhist temple in Dudley perform their morning ritual.
Hands-on experience like this morning brings it alive for them, particularly if you're between 5 and 11 years old.
Can I interrupt you? Has he told you what that's called?
Yeah.
What's it called?
A dong.
Why is it called a dong?
Because when you hit it, it goes dong.
What do you think about being a Buddhist?
I like the road.
You like the road? There are now plans to repeat the experiment in other Black Country schools.
And from all of us on the Late News team, a very Eastern good night.
Central Weather, sponsored by Stay Bright Windows and Conservatories. The clear choice in any weather.
Hi there. Well, we've got a slightly drier session through the course of the night, but it's not going to last long, as you might have guessed. By the end of the night, the next band of rain is going to be starting to work its way in, and that'll lead to repeat performance for tomorrow. You've got a bit of a wet morning on the cards, you've got a bit of a wet afternoon on the cards, you've generally got a bit of a grey day throughout, to be honest, although another drying up session should start round about the end of the afternoon as this system starts to push across and out of the region. It is going to be breezy again, but mild again for you. And as you might have guessed, just in case you haven't got the hang of this pattern yet, there'll be another chance to see it all over again on Thursday. Showery rain on and off. It's going to be breezy, but again, it'll be mild. And if you miss this one, don't you worry, there'll be another chance to experience it on Friday. I think someone has been singing very badly. Good night.
The Central 7-Day Weather Line, 0336 40 40 10.
Travel update in association with Business Pages.
Hi there, time now to take a look at the region's roads for tomorrow. And you could be in for a trying time if you're travelling along the A49 in Shropshire between Battlefield and Priest Heath, as it's a secondary resurfacing work which will be in progress right up to the middle of next week. But some good news for all you commuters rushing into Nottingham and travelling along the A60 Loughborough Road, as this week is the last you'll see of the temporary lights at Bunny. But it's a week of delays in the A40 in Gloucestershire, as Lansdowne Road in Cheltenham sees the tree surgeons in operation, closing down one lane in the process. And your journey could take longer than planned if you're coming through Erdington and the West Midlands tomorrow, as we've got roadworks along Bromford Lane and Wheelwright Road. And you just heard from Charlie that we're in for more rain through tomorrow's rush hour, so lights on, stay back and take care. Good night.
Travel update with Business Pages, helping you to work.
Highlights from the fourth round of the Coca-Cola Cup, Arsenal v Coventry City and Derby County v Newcastle United. It's a Central Sports special, tonight at 11:40. Our new series about natural disasters concentrates on violent volcanoes. Next, Savage Earth, in a moment.
New Woman readers voted it Best New Skincare Product 97. Superdrug voted it their favourite anti-aging product. And Vogue said it gave spectacular effects in 10 days. This cream's unique formula will give you visibly more radiant, younger-looking skin within 10 days. Or Ulay will give you your money back. And the name? Daily Renewal Cream from Oil of Ulay.
travel the world, but you won't find a shampoo quite like this.
New L'Oreal Elvive Nutrivitamins shampoo.
I want to look after every inch of my hair. Just shampoo and let science do its thing.
L'Oreal has created new Elvive shampoo with Nutrivitamins E, PP and B5.
Travel the world, don't bother. Glossy, shiny, manageable hair. I can feel it. I can see it.
New L'Oreal Elvive Nutrivitamins shampoo.
Then tell yourself you're worth it.
Everyone here defends with a passion their right to hunt, and these hounds will no doubt kill a fox before the end of the day. Is it a barbaric pastime or essential pest control? Do you think that hunts such as this should be banned? Join us for the first national live television debate about the hunt, Wednesday, 26 November on Central.
You're watching Central. Now we begin a new series about the violence of nature, Savage Earth.
We think of our Earth as complete, its creation long settled. But it isn't. 5 billion years since it was formed, it is still changing. Its savage beauty offering hypnotic clues to its power. A power that threatens those who must live on Hell's crust.